Very much, Pierre, for being here. I wanted to respond today to Mark Carney's big, hyped-up speech to Canadian youth. So we brought some people here who do qualify. Come on, let's get somebody in here who's young enough to be youth. Although Pierre is the George Clooney of our caucus, so he's forever young. And we have Sandra Cabina, who's much younger than I am, and she will be sharing some of the stories of the many young people she encounters in her constituency. When we heard about this speech, we watched it with great interest because of how much misery and suffering our young people have endured over the last decade of liberal inflation, crime, and chaos. And so we were looking for Mr. Carney to reverse course on all of these policies. So what did we find out? Well, first of all, we got the normal buffet of broken promises and buzzwords. There was lots of talk about catalyzing this and catalyzing that. There was a new promise about doubling exports to non-U.S. markets, all while he refuses to even support the one single thing that would actually export more of our resources to those markets. He's still not stating his support for an oil pipeline to the Pacific, nor has he gotten any projects underway that would achieve any of these things. So there was the normal repetition of already broken promises with a lot of fancy million-dollar words. But there were two things that were different. One, I give Mr. Carney credit for being honest with young people. He went on at length about how much worse life is for today's youth than it was when he was young. And he's right about that. This is the first generation in Canadian history that cannot afford home ownership. This has never happened before. It happened after 10 years of Liberal government, doubled housing costs, giving us the worst housing inflation in the G7, causing housing to rise about 50% higher than it is south of the border. So it is true that now is the worst time, probably in the post-war period. You will not find another period in our history when it has been worse to be a young person. I credit him for that. But instead of saying, given that things are so bad, we Liberals are going to reverse course on all of the policies of inflation, of blocking home building, of standing in the way of resource projects. Instead of that, he asked young people to make more sacrifices. This was the sacrifice speech to Canadian youth. And he said it's going to take lots of time to reverse all the damage. Mr. Carney, our youth have sacrificed enough. All they have done for the last 10 years is sacrifice. They are living in their parents' basement well into their 30s. Their rent has roughly doubled, and in fact, the most recent inflation data says that it's up another 4%. The purchasing power of their paychecks are down. More of their money goes to taxes than into food, clothing, and shelter combined. They are no longer safe on their streets after Liberal bail has unleashed crime and chaos everywhere. And I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to acknowledge one young person who tragically lost her life to Liberal bail just this week. Savannah Kula, 29-year-old mother of four, murdered by an offender out on Liberal bail. Another example of the chaos this government is unleashing in our communities. But instead of acknowledging all of those sacrifices and promising to reverse them, Mr. Carney doubles down on all the policies that caused them. The inflationary deficits that were left behind by the previous Liberal government, he's doubled them. He's increased spending on bureaucracy and consultants, all of which is driving inflation up even higher than it was before he took office. In fact, food price inflation is almost double the Bank of Canada's target, which means our young people are now forced to downgrade their diets and line up at food banks. We see paychecks are now under attack. While the first 10 years of Liberal government deprived our youth of home ownership, now it's depriving them of jobs. Youth employment numbers are now the worst in a generation as the government blocks jobs with high taxes and anti-development laws and allows multinational corporations to give those jobs away to the temporary foreign worker program, meaning countless young people are not able to even find a paycheck, let alone a place to live. My message to Canadian youth is this: you have sacrificed enough under this Liberal government. You don't have to live like this. We can turn the hurt of the last decade into the hope of the future, and we have a plan to do it. That plan will unlock free enterprise so that you get ahead through your hard work and entrepreneurship, not through political connections. By lowering income taxes, you'll keep more of your hard-earned paycheck. By getting rid of inflationary deficit spending, those dollars you earn, they will once again go further and preserve their value. We will clear the bureaucracy and taxes so that builders can build homes that you can afford, and we will get the federal government out of the way to build mines so that the private sector can build mines, pipelines, ports, and countless other major projects that will create $2,000 a year jobs for our young trades workers right across this country, and you will live in safety because we will scrap liberal bail, we will lock up serious criminals, we will restore the best immigration system in the world that is based on common sense. That is how we will restore the promise to which you are entitled, which your ancestors all enjoyed. You deserve it. Your suffering today is not your fault. It was imposed on you by your Liberal government. But we can change these things, we can build the brighter future, and that is the hopeful message that I hope that you will join us in delivering and bringing to bear. Thank you.